What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. And today we're talking about how you as an INFJ are often so impatient and that impatience is keeping you back. So you might ask, why is that a typical INFJ problem? Well, the reason is because we do live in the future. Other types, like for example ISFJs or ESFJs, they have a problem holding on to past things, past situations and past circumstances. We have a problem letting go of visions. We have problem letting go of where we're going, and because of that, neither of those types is living in the here and now. And only when you live in the here and now, you can make the progress that you're looking for. And this is so much more complex than some people make it sound like. It's not like a poem of, just live in the moment. It has a lot to do with the way we approach life. So today I'm going to talk to you about how you as an INFJ can make that switch and really make that progress so you don't feel like your impatience is holding you back. Before we get started, I want to remind you the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp is starting in a couple of days. If you haven't signed up yet, you can do that now because there won't be any late admissions, and this is the last bootcamp of the year. So be quick because it's limited seating. So let's start from the beginning. This topic was suggested by one of you. At this point, I really encourage you, if you have ideas or things that you are struggling with, just share them in the comments because you're probably not the only one. And once I address them, not only you can benefit from it, but also a lot of other people. So impatience is something that I see in INFJs all the time. There is this notion of, if I go that direction, that's not gonna really make me happy because I have this vision in my mind of what I want. And that step over here, let's say getting a new job, is not equivalent to that vision. So let's say you're working in a job where I'm at a dead end right now. This bores me, I'm not really being challenged. And the next step would be to take on a job that might be more work. It might be that it's in an industry where I'm not really confident that this is something I want to do. And then you keep on telling yourself all those stories and all those true arguments why this is not for you. It's not like you're lying to yourself, but you're focusing on certain things because there's always this comparison of how does this relate to my vision, and it will always fall short. There's no way it won't. The great thing though is that once you learn this aspect, you really get to change your mindset around it. You get to change how you look at your vision and how much you expect of it. So for the longest time when I was younger, I was so much living in my head and in my vision and what I think life should be that it was really difficult for me to distinguish between what's only in my mind and what's really happening in the real world. This is something we're going to talk about in the next video, particularly when we talk about projection. But this is something we have to understand as INFJs. If there is no evident data in the real world that's helping us make this a reality, it really is just the thought. It could be things like, I know that person so well. That person really likes me. We have a connection. That job is the perfect opportunity for me. Like all of those thoughts that have no basis in reality, they're a great thing as a motivation, but they're also keeping us back from making that progress. Because unless you have a connection to what is really going on right now, you cannot make the steps happen. That's the same thing as saying, I want a relationship and I have like this idea of this perfect partner. And what do? I just sit at home and wait for it to happen. That's, a discrepancy right there. And we, for the longest time, don't get it. And I'm telling you this so specifically because this is something that I've experienced for years. I would never think that I'm completely healed of this because I don't believe in such things as, at some point you're completely done with something. I always believe that there's a leaning in part. I always believe there are ways you can grow. And I hope that, of course, in 10 years, I will look at myself today and say, I've grown so much in that time. And this, of course, isn't something that I've only experienced myself. This is something that I talk to my clients about, the bootcamp participants. I talk to you in the comment section. This is so normal. So how do you get from a point of, I have this great image of how my life should be, and I can't really pinpoint it. It's not like I say, okay, I want a house by the beach, I want 2.5 kids, I want to work as an architect in New York. It's very often not like this. It's more like I have this feeling of I want to be proud of myself. I want to feel like people see me as a representation of what they could do out of their life. It's something that is a feeling, and it's something we don't want to let go of. And since we have these emotions, all we do is we see a certain situation in our real life and see, how can I project this onto this? How can I see with the things that are happening right now, how can I see that this is a future for me that would allow me to feel this emotion all the time? And because nothing in our reality is a representation of this, we are actually staying stuck and we're being impatient. We feel like we either put everything in one basket. This is the typical thing of, okay, I meet this one person and I believe they're going to be my solution. Because of them, I'm going to move to another city and then everything else will be great. Or you thinking that one job, that is the thing I have to get and then everything's going to be all right. This is not the case. And on top of everything, because we put all our eggs in one basket, we're willing to make sacrifices that are never good for us. So for example, you're willing to make compromise in relationships where you allow other people to stomp all over you, and the list goes on and on. So how do we change this impatience? How do we really get from a point of this is my image, this is the feeling I want, to making this a reality? Because the moment you start making this a reality, you actually feel like you're growing. There's nothing else in this world that will give you such a kick than seeing that you're actually creating your thoughts, that you're actually manifesting them, that you're making your vision a reality. Because this in itself will help you to make your vision bigger. So the first thing we have to do is acceptance. And this is of course much more complex than we would think. This is not just a saying, accept where you are and everything will be great, or to say things like just live in the moment. It's not as easy. And if we're looking at it from a perspective of, if I actually want to live this, we have to dig a little deeper. Acceptance means let's look at the facts. Let's tap into TE, extroverted thinking. This is the function that we are least skilled at. This is the one we ignore the most. This is the one that will cause us the biggest problems in life. And this is also something which we deliberately have to tap into. So I'm never a fan of really improving your weaknesses. I know that the most important thing is to actually know these are my strengths and I will actually work on them and make them better. And my weaknesses, I will improve them just so much that they're not hindering me. And not hindering me in a way of, okay, doing 20% of, more looking into TE will help me to make 80% more improvement. This is something that you can remember for all aspects in life. Most of the time you have an 80-20 rule, meaning 20% of effort put into something already generates 80% of results. Right? If you want 100%, then you have to put in 100%. And so the more you actually recognize, let me go for those 20% because an 80% improvement in results is already helping me. I don't need to be the best at TE. I also don't need to be the best as SI. I don't need to be great at details. When you're working your way up, for example, in the corporate world and stuff like this, and you recognize, okay, of course, on some level, I have to tap into SI, but let's keep it to a minimum. Let's focus on the things that you're good at, which is client relationships, which is having an idea, working in a black box and creating something new. And those little steps where you have to tap into SI, introverted sensing, meaning you go into details, you learn this, you do this to a small capacity, to such an extent where it doesn't really hold you back that much. Knowing and accepting that you have your limits. But let's get back to TE. Why is TE so interesting and so important? TE, meaning extroverted thinking, is what you can observe in the real world. This is something till this day that I have difficulty with, and I'm really trained at this. So I see and I know that this is something that a lot of INFJs are struggling with, and that is holding us back. So just take your time and do it like once a week. look at taking actions which are externally observable. Doing research in your mind, changing your mindset. This is not TE. TE is really what's going on. So the moment I was able to actually stop being impatient and really do something in the real world, where I started to live in the moment, was the moment when I recognized, okay, these are my visions. This is what I think of myself. Like I think, oh, I have like all these opportunities because I have all this potential and I know there are greater things out there for me. And because I was so dissatisfied with my reality, I lived so much of my time in my mind. So that meant I didn't like the friendships I had. I didn't like the things I did every day. I didn't like the city I was living in a way of, okay, this satisfies me. This makes me feel like I have an exciting life. And I also didn't feel like I'm making improvements in the areas that really matter to me. Yes, my job would give me a raise every other year. Yes, I was actually getting better at the things that I was learning there, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like I'm growing, I'm expanding. So of course the impatient comes up. And then when something comes into your life that has the potential of being something extra special, you put all your attention into this. For me, that was a guy, when I was like 26, that was like my biggest revelation ever, that I thought, okay, this is my opportunity, like where I can change my life. Because I thought once I would be with him, my life would be exciting. That would be like, it was a different country, it was a different lifestyle, and the list goes on and on. Why did I want to do this? Why was I willing to give so much up? My life, the way I thought about things, my strength, just to be with that person. It wasn't about that person. It was about me escaping from my world, because my world, like the real world, wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I expected, and it wasn't something that I wanted to look into. Because if I had to admit to myself that my reality sucks, that would have been painful. So painful. But so of course I was really happy that none of this worked out, because through that I recognized again, no, Wenzes, you're not gonna have any kind of savior coming for you. There is no such external thing that will pop up in your life and that will make you happy. You have to make that happen. And the only way you can make that happen is if you start from where you're at right now. And that was at the bottom. This is the discrepancy we have between our vision and reality. Because my vision was, this amazing life and so much opportunity, and I didn't want to look at the reality. But the reality was cold and dark and hopeless. So as long as I wasn't willing to accept my reality, where I'm at right now, admit to myself that I do think my life is boring, that I do think there's nothing exciting going on that makes me feel like my life is epic. Right? Because it's not about the thoughts, it's about what's really externally observable. And the reality wasn't that exciting. But once I was able to accept that, a lot of things changed. Because what happens when you accept a situation? You actually first off have to face the pain. The pain that there is no rescue. There is nothing coming into your life that will make it better. You have to start from where you're at. You have to look at your reality and make that reality exciting. And if for the longest time you've never done this, because every time you recognize that your reality isn't that thing that makes you happy, what do most INFJs do? They go into their vision. They think about how great it could be if there was just this one person or this one opportunity, and then they wait, and of course you get impatient. It's like you want to build this amazing castle, but you're barely scratching the surface. In order to really build something, we need a foundation. So we need to go deeper and deeper, and we have to understand where we're at. So stop running away from the pain of your reality. Admit to yourself that this is your life you're currently living. This is what you have created so far. Because the moment you do that, yes, you're confronted with a lot of pain. You're confronted with the pain that your life may be without meaning. You're confronting yourself that your life hasn't turned out the way you wanted it to be so far. But what you're also doing is you're taking back control. Because the moment you confront yourself with these thoughts, you recognize that this is your responsibility, that there is nobody who can save you even if they wanted to. So once you get to this step, it's like you incorporate reality. It's like you get grounded. And that is the point when you start really tapping into your extroverted sensing. Meaning you take steps that are externally observable that will change your reality. Meaning you actually go for the better job, knowing that this job probably doesn't represent that vision that you have. The question is, does this increase your energy in comparison to what you're doing now? You say, okay, my friendships are not that exciting. I don't feel like I have this connection with so many people, so therefore I don't do anything. But the question is, if you meet that one person that is kind and that is generous and that you like to spend time with, but you still feel like, okay, it doesn't really satisfy me. It's not like this grand thing that I always wanted. The question is it better than what you had yesterday? Is it better than what you had last week? Does this improve your reality and not does this represent my vision? Because an improvement in your reality, of course, means that you're closer to your vision than you were before. And so even if you have like this vision of being your own boss and having all this freedom, and then you feel like, okay, going for that other job where I have more responsibility, where I have to work a little bit more, where I have to tap into my sensing abilities, like my introverted sensing, how is that getting me closer to my vision where I want to be my own boss? Well, it's getting you there because it teaches you discipline. It teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you that you're responsible for your happiness and for making the next right step happen. Because in order to succeed at that new level, you will become a person who's much more likely to get to the place where you want to go. You don't give up on your vision. Of course, if you think, okay, the only thing I'm going to think about now is just doing my job and I forget about my vision where I want my freedom and all these exciting things, yeah, of course you're not going to be happy. But if you see the next right step in reality as a stepping stone that will help you to get to the next level, you're good to go. Because even if you don't know what to do, because you don't know what's gonna help you get closer to that vision, you already know your current situation doesn't satisfy you, your current reality. And then you actually take the steps that will make the reality better. And reality better always is in comparison to your vision. Don't forget that. You already know there's no chance to learn anything here, so let's go for the next step. We have to practice tapping into our extroverted sensing. We have to learn to make things happen in the real world. If you learn this skill, it will be that much easier to actually tap into your vision. And then you recognize things like, okay, if I want a relationship that I cannot wait and sit on the couch, if I want to feel healthy and great in my body, it's not going to happen by me just being upset about not hitting like my goals in my physical aspect. I actually have to be the one who goes out, who buys things that are healthy and goes and works out. And I can tell you as an INFJ, this is so rewarding. This will give you a kick like nothing else. This isn't you giving up who you are. This isn't you saying, okay, I don't want to be an INFJ anymore. I'm going to live in the real world. No, you're holding on to that vision. That vision is your North Star. But you also know that you have to build the skills in order to get closer to that. It's all about mindset and going for the next step and learning how to grow, becoming a bigger person who can expand their energy. That's the thing that's going to get you closer to your vision. And that's the thing that's going to make you feel like you're making progress. And then you don't have this thing in the back of your mind that you're not being patient enough, that things should be going faster, because you actually feel it. You feel the progress and it makes you feel fulfilled and satisfied. And in the end of the day, you know that your day was worthwhile. I really hope that helped you and inspired you to make your reality an INFJ Epic Life. Remember, the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp starts in a couple of days. It's the last one of this year, so sign up. We have limited seating, so be quick. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then watch the video on INFJ Monk versus Warrior. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.